after spending tens of millions of dollars, wasting over 6 years of obsessive work that should have been spent on protecting New Yorkers from violent, rampant crime that is destroying the city and state, coordinating with the Biden-Harris Department of Injustice and lawless weaponization.
And this is a man who's got no standing. He's been disbarred on other matters, unrelated, and he was allowed to talk as though he were George Washington. But he's not George Washington. He shouldn't have been allowed. I just want to say I think it's an embarrassment to New York. In the meantime, I won the election in a massive landslide, and the people of this country understand what's gone on. This has been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before. And I'd just like to exclaim that I was treated very, very unfairly. And I thank you very much.
All right, guys, so breaking news. The courtroom audio of the Donald Trump sentencing hearing has just been released, and Trump apparently tore very hard into Judge Merchan as well as the New York Democrats for bringing this case, and it's honestly pretty awesome. It's kind of iconic in some ways, so I want to play that for you here today, but really quickly, just to recap, if you missed our last video, they did the sentencing hearing for the New York criminal trial for Trump today, and if you're wondering what the sentence is, it is nothing, right? It is literally nothing. It is no prison time, no fines, no probation. This entire thing was essentially just a giant political theater so that they could run around and call Trump a convicted felon. And apparently they're fully intent to go into January 20th, still saying the same exact thing. But with that said, Trump decides to call them out right here in the courtroom. He basically slams the entire court for this thing and goes on to brag about his election victory, which is awesome, right? Which is hilarious. This whole thing was always about trying to stop him in the election. And so he essentially shows up to this hearing as a gangster, like saying, look, what you gonna do, right? It's true. All right, with that said, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new. You subscribing is the best way to ensure we can keep doing these videos. And here is Trump taking on Judge Merchan in the courtroom.
This is records. Everybody should be so accurate. It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. And the people of our country got to see this firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom. They got to see this firsthand, and then they voted, and I won and got the largest number of votes by far of any Republican candidate in history, and won, as you know, all 7 swing states, won conclusively all 7 swing states, and won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes, and they've been watching your trial.
I just love Trump. Like, notice how he's going on in detail about the election victory. He's not just saying I won the election. He's like, no, here's all the ways in which I won the election, which is kind of funny, right? And Trump, you could say, is trying to brag, but he's also making the point to the judge. You tried to stop me. You tried to stop me in this election. Everyone knows that's what this was always about, and you failed. So deal with it, buddy. Okay, so that's just awesome.
So they understood it. I wasn't allowed to use the lawyer-client privilege or the reliance on counsel. I had a lawyer that made this deal, and he admitted that. And he was also a totally discredited person. We weren't allowed to use the information from the Southern District that totally discredited him. It wasn't allowed to be put in. And that was terrible, unbelievable. And this is a man who's got no standing. He's been disbarred on other matters, unrelated. And he was allowed to talk as though he were George Washington. But he's not George Washington. He shouldn't have been allowed. The Southern District did a book.
This is in reference to Michael Cohen, by the way, if people are curious, who, yeah, apparently is not George Washington, it turns out.
Of approximately 28 pages where I've never seen anything like it. They excoriated him. You wouldn't let it be put into evidence. So he was able to testify as a witness, and I think it's a disgrace to the system. I was under a gag order. I'm the first president in history that was under a gag order where I couldn't talk about aspects of the case that are very important. I guess I'm still under, so probably I won't do it now. I assume I'm still under a gag order. But the fact is that I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong. They talked about business records, and the business records were
So true.
extremely accurately counted. I had nothing to do with them. Any of that was done by an accountant or a bookkeeper who I think gave very credible testimony and was corroborated by everybody that was asked. And with all that's happening in our country today, with the city that's burning to the ground, one of our largest, most important cities burning to the ground, with wars that are uncontrollably going on, with all of the problems of inflation and attacks on countries and all of the horrible things that are going on, I got indicted over calling a legal expense a legal expense. It was called a legal expense.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people could say, oh, he's basically using this platform to campaign. That's sort of inappropriate, is it not? No, it's totally appropriate because, again, first of all, this whole thing was political. But secondly, you know, New York is a place where they're after Trump for allegedly like misfiling his business records, as they repeatedly keep on saying. And yet, what's going on in New York? What's going on is violent criminals are being let out of jail. They're not being charged with anything. People are robbing. People are stealing. People are assaulting people. People are pushing random civilians into the subway tracks. But Donald Trump is the real, you know, evil criminal, we're being told. Nobody's above the law except all the criminals, right?
I just want to say I think it's an embarrassment to New York, and New York has a lot of problems, but this is a great embarrassment. I believe that this and other cases that were brought, as you know, the DOJ is very much involved in this case. It's because that's the political opponent they're talking about. The DOJ is very involved. You have a gentleman sitting right there from the DOJ who was from the DOJ's office. He was also involved with the New York State Attorney General's case.
Yeah, let's also not forget, they say Biden had nothing to do with this. That guy left Biden's Department of Justice specifically to go and work on this case in New York. Okay, that's not exactly lacking transparency there in terms of what he was doing. But no, Biden had nothing to do with it. Definitely not. I'm pretty sure more evidence has come out since that, yeah, there was direct communication between Biden, his DOJ, and the New York DA's office here. So let's just not forget that either.
And he went from there to here. He went around and did what he had to do. He got them to move on me. But in the meantime, I won the election in a massive landslide. And the people of this country understand what's gone on. This has been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before. And I'd just like to exclaim that I was treated very, very unfairly. And I thank you very much.
Yep, that's exactly correct. And let's be clear here, guys. Trump is not really talking to the judge in this situation. It was already announced days ago that he would not be facing any punishment. But what he's doing here is essentially using that public microphone to speak to maybe the Democrats as well as the American people. And I think that message was heard. That message was especially effectively heard on November 5th. Now, that said, last thing we'll show here, this was the official statement that Trump put out directly to the American people about this total sham political theater. Take a listen.
Another pathetic, un-American witch hunt. After spending tens of millions of dollars, wasting over 6 years of obsessive work that should have been spent on protecting New Yorkers from violent, rampant crime that is destroying the city and state, coordinating with the Biden-Harris Department of Injustice and lawless weaponization, and bringing completely baseless, illegal, and fake charges against your 45th and 47th president, me, I was given an unconditional discharge. That result alone proves that, as all legal scholars and experts have said, there is no case, there was never a case, and this whole scam fully deserves to be dismissed. The real jury, the American people, have spoken by re-electing me with an overwhelming mandate in one of the most consequential elections in history, as the American people have seen this, quote, case, close quote, had no crime, no damages, no proof, no facts, no law, only a highly conflicted judge, a star witness who is disbarred, disgraced, serial perjurer, and criminal election interference. Today's event was a despicable charade, and now that it is over, we will appeal this hoax, which has no merit, and restore the trust of Americans in our once great system of justice. Make America great again. So that is a statement from the incoming president on what happened today. If the gag order is not off, it would appear to be.
Yep, absolutely. So there you have it. Again, these people wasted millions upon millions of taxpayer dollars, only for it to end like this, only for him to be sentenced to absolutely nothing. It's a big nothing burger, much like the case. But they spent millions of dollars so that way they could basically just run around and laugh about, oh, Trump is a convicted felon. Oh, we got him. Yeah, you really got him, didn't you? Again, we won the election. All right. They're still running around saying convicted felon, convicted felon. It's like at a certain point, do they not realize that nobody cares? Do they not realize that nobody's listening? Or do they just get dopamine from essentially retweeting the same thing in their echo chamber? Meanwhile, as Donald Trump pointed out, both in the statement as well as the courtroom, the American people were the jury on November 5th. Deal with it. You lost, and clearly a lot of you people are learning nothing from this entire situation. So I would say just lose again. With that said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.